This is called, shout outs to this person named Mercy. They made this thing called the most broken state of every Overwatch hero. Of every hero in Overwatch 2.
Karki made an amazing video about the strongest states of every Overwatch character. And it got me thinking about answering this question for Overwatch 2. So, let's take a look at the history of patches and see just how broken some of these characters have been. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting with D.Va, currently D.Va's strongest state has been in Season 11, when she, along with all the tanks, received massive buffs, including her defense matrix going from 3 to 3.5 seconds, her weapon spread being tightened, and
do you guys remember when D.Va was picked every single meta, and I even hated the game, and everyone was complaining about D.Va? Oh, wait a minute. Before we can even continue, wait, I want to see this. Wait, what the hell? This one right here says nerf D.Va, she's not fun. Nerf D.Va, she's not fun. I got 6.1k likes and 768 retweets. But this one over here says in October 6th, I don't know what was going on in 2022, but I said nerf tanks Overwatch, bro. It's like a mini raid boss that I don't know what I was complaining about. And that has 19k likes. I don't even know what I was complaining about. But yeah, yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense, chat.
Missiles receiving a big damage per second buff. However, the biggest buff by far was the change to armor, which heavily buffed her because of all the armor she has. This made her super strong. She was nerfed coming into Season 12, but it really hasn't affected her at all.
This is when also I tweeted nerf D.Va, she's not fun to play against, and all the silver players in Twitter, you could tell their silver chat because they were going to me and be like, excuse me, you're really bad at the video game because you need to just go Zarya and Mei and Symmetra and you could counter D.Va. I'm like, and literally in that voice as well. I'm not even choking, Jet. I'm not even joking. Listen to the silvers, bro. I'm not trying to be mean, but low rank players are just completely lost. And I'm not trying to like call anyone out, but Jesus, dude.
Currently, D.Va is probably the best tank in the entire game by pick rate, and stats wise, this was her current peak. Doomfist on release of Overwatch 2 was terrible. And only OGs remember this, but Doom used to be called a throw pick. Wow, things have changed. Anyways, on December of 2022, Doom received massive buffs to pretty much everything about him.
2022.
His rocket punch received a ton of...
This is when I complained about tanks. Wait, remember that tweet I just showed you guys? This is when we complained about tanks.
Changes, which I'll just show on screen. Along with his block cooldown being reduced, the duration being increased, and it now requiring less damage to become empowered. On top of all this, his ult was also buffed, slowing enemies for longer and giving him empowered punch. This alone maybe would have been enough, but his passive, the best defense, was also buffed, giving him more overhealth and increasing the max you can have. If you played during this time, you will remember just how insane Doom was. This period wouldn't last long though, as he was nerfed just 10 days later, bringing him back down to earth.
I wish they updated it.
You're gonna notice this trend with a lot of the tanks, but on release she was pretty bad. She was insane in the beta before Kiri came out, but heading into Overwatch 2's release was pretty bad. Buff after buff after buff, it was just never enough, until May of 2023 during the Season 4 mid-season patch where she would just be randomly giga-buffed. Her scattergun ammo was increased, along with Jagged Blade's projectile size being increased. Rampage was also given impact damage, but the biggest one by far was Adrenaline Rush, her passive, being buffed from 1.25 to 2x. This JQ went from being the worst tank in the game to the best instantly, and ruled the game until the inevitable nerfs came in Season 5 on June 13th. But this brief period of JQ is some of the most fun I've ever had on tank.
Oh, you're one. Doesn't matter, I have ult again.
Help me. Oh my gosh,
oh yeah, is this the patch where if you slice someone, your cooldown of your axe gets lowered, so you can keep swinging and people were swinging on a Mei wall, and you could literally swing forever?
I capped this.
What the fuck is going on?
Guys, I capped this.
This character is so f***ed up.
We all remember
Jesus.
Malga. However, what you might not remember was when he was the
I bet you this is. I bet chat. Listen, this is my favorite part about Maga, and this shows you how smart Blizzard is. Remember when Maga was released or tried out for beta? He was strong, right? He was a little broken, so they nerfed him a little bit on what do you call it? And then what they did right before Christmas, and they took their Christmas break. They buffed Maga to make him completely broken, and they took 2 weeks off. That was a fun time. Thank you, Blizzard, for doing that.
able to be played during the BlizzCon trial weekend. He was seen as pretty weak in the eyes of the devs, so they decided to gigabuff him. They gave him armor, buffed his overrun, his primary fire, as well as his overdrive and lifesteal passive. Now, my memory of this time is a little shaky, however, in this state, the devs decided to nerf him, lowering his alteration and nerfing his primary fire. However, apparently he was too weak in the state, so they decided to mega buff him, increasing his armor, reverting the primary fire changes, and buffing his overhealth passive to 60%. Now, I have no idea why they thought this was a good idea. Like, real shit. If you thought he was too strong after the giga buffs, then nerfed him, why did they pretty much just revert all the nerfs besides the ult and just giga buff him again? Like, actually,
I remember
why?
that. Right on Christmas,
Everyone
too.
remembers Malga's dominance as he reigned over the game for all of Christmas break. And finally, on January 9th, nerfs came in, bringing him back down.
January 9th, when they came back
There
from
was a small
Christmas break,
period in
chat.
March of this year where he was buffed again and was insane, but this was still a far cry for how he was in the beginning, making Season 8 his peak. If I'm completely honest, if there is any character that it was difficult to find their peak, it was Orisa. She's had many periods of dominance, however, I think for me, I'm gonna go with Season 6 Orisa. When she was nerfed in previous seasons, she slowly began receiving small buffs. First, her damage was increased from 12 to 13.
She hasn't been nerfed
Then
yet,
her fortified
remember.
damage reduction was also increased from 40% to 50%. Then finally, they just decided to press the gas and practically revert all the previous season nerfs that made her broken and gave her back the extra fortify HP as well as decreasing her fall off damage.
My chat
This made her super strong and easily the best tank in the entire game. She was nerfed just a month later, which reworked her fortify cooldown, but overall increasing it by 0.5 seconds, as well as nerfing the HP given
I
during
feel like Orisa
fortify.
is still strong. Like,
Orisa is a menace, and any meta with her is a bad one. I'm just gonna be honest.
True.
W character though. Ramatra has always been a really solid pick, either being an A or B tier tank, unless he sees a Malga on the screen. Once going to comp after receiving his buffs, he was really strong, but what really showed Ram strength was in Season 11 during the mid-season patch
Season
where
11?
all his
Really?
tanks
Not when he
received
was
big
released?
buffs. Ramatra was buffed to now have 300 armor when going into Nemesis form, as well as increasing his pummel damage, which let him kill squishies with one less punch, which was massive. Along with the armor changes made Ramatra insane.
Hot take, this should actually be in the game. This should actually be in the game, chat. When you play, you should have an option where you could check a box and put damage numbers in the game, just like how TF2 or like all these other games have it. That is the cool. That is a cool feature to have, which I still don't understand why we don't have it. It's actually wild that this is not just common.
It's massive. Along with the armor changes made Ramatra insane. So insane, in fact, that just 3 days later, he was emergency nerfed, increasing Nemesis's cooldown, lowering his HP, as well as his armor. It was a tough decision between this version or the giga buffed one added to comp with his ult being as broken as it was back then. But I think the fact that he was nerfed so quickly pushed this version over the edge in my eyes. Ryan has not had the best time in Overwatch 2. However, he has really only ever been buffed, mainly to his ult, barrier, and fire strike.
Has Ryan
Currently,
ever been nerfed in
Ryan
Overwatch
is
2?
in his best state right now, after his last buff in the Season 11 with the great tank buffs. Ryan notably has a ton of armor, so the mega buff to armor really helps him out a lot, along with the charge buff finally allowing him to kill characters like Reaper. Ryan hasn't had the best time in Overwatch 2,
that's a really good
but he's still a
change.
solid B tier character in current day. Hog is another character design that worked in 6v6, but not so much in 5v5. His ability to one-shot with ease made him insane. It took a small meta shift, but eventually Hog began to take over the game in Season 2.
Like, good in season
Hog's
2?
dominance was insane, and if you played during this time, everyone remembers that every match was pretty much just Orisa versus Orisa, because if you played any other tank, the Hog was just gonna come in and just kill you. Hell, people played Hog into Orisa. Who the fuck cares? During this time, Hog was in probably one of the strongest states a character in the tank role has been of all time. Luckily, the devs sent Hog to the farm in January of 2023, removing his one-shot and his damage in general.
Removing his one-shot actually does feel horrible though, but I do agree with removing his one-shot because I feel like if you're playing Roadhog and you're supposed to be like the tank for your team, the space creator, if you hook someone and bring them into your team, everyone shooting at him, he should die, right? So Roadhog technically does not need a one-shot. Don't let Unsalted Salt hear me say that, because Unsalted Salt would actually like shit himself and pee his pants. If Roadhog doesn't want, like, that's what I don't understand about tank players. Tank players are supposed to absorb damage and create space. They're not supposed to be doing more DPS than the DPS characters. Like, DPS is a useless role, chat.
Consistently a strong pick in the tank roster. He's never really been bad, but has also never been crazy broken or anything. He's had seasons where people put him in S tier, however, this is mainly due to the strength of the other tanks being changed. Buff-wise, his current strongest state would actually be right now, after receiving his one-shot combo back in Season 11.
Wait, he's gonna say right now is his strongest role? Remember there was a few days where Sigma could actually ult you, it doesn't matter if you were behind walls and whatnot? I felt like that was the strongest Sigma. Remember on Nubani, if Sigma ulted the bottom of Nubani where the Mega was on first point, and you guys were up top, you would still get lifted and hit. That was broken.
You like Sigma? Well, he's not the best right now, because ironically I would say this is probably...
When was this video made? This video was made 1 month ago.
His weakest state as well, because dive is super strong. But he's still solid, and really always has been in poke comps. Winston's strongest state was back during Season 11, when he was buffed alongside the rest of the tanks.
Season 11.
Winston has really never been bad in Overwatch 2, and has really only received buffs. However, in the Hot Picks patch just released yesterday as of writing this, his damage per second was nerfed, making Season 11 his strongest state. Stats-wise, Ball is currently his strongest right now. And yes, he is very good right now.
Ball is more strong.
I think I would put
Ball is stronger right now as well.
Season 9 as his strongest state. This was before the quote rework he had later, but this rise to dominance was mainly due to meta changes. At the time, Tracer and Zen were insanely busted, which are some of Ball's best friends. This caused Ball to explode in popularity. However, stats-wise, Ball is stronger right now, and if specific characters get buffed or nerfed, Ball is this close to taking over the game again, like he did during that brief time in Season 9. Coming into Overwatch 2, Zarya received several buffs in order to compete in the 5v5 format. However, people realized pretty quickly that she was way too strong and quickly became insanely good and arguably the strongest tank in the whole game at the time.
Was it? Wait, sorry.
This was mainly...
When did he say that Zarya was strong? Wasn't Zarya really strong in the release of Overwatch 2?
Zarya received several buffs in order to compete. Coming into Overwatch 2, Zarya received several buffs in order to compete in the 5v5 format. However, people realized pretty quickly that she was way too strong and quickly became insanely good and arguably the strongest tank in the whole game at the time.
Yeah,
this was mainly due to not only D.Va being super good as well, but the fact that her shared bubble cooldown and longer duration allowed her to have bubble ups a lot more, keeping her charge super duper high. The devs were quick though, as she was nerfed just a month later on November 17th, bringing her back.
Quick! A month? Quick! That's like the mid-season patch. That's a normal one. That's not quick.
Down to earth. Now, stats-wise, the Zarya that came from the original Season 11 mid-season patch is better than released Zarya. However, the overall power level is much higher during this time. I think that people that played against original release Zarya can really test to her power and dominance during this time. Ashe has been a solid DPS for all of Overwatch 2. and got a whole lot better in Season 9 when she not only had her HP buffed, but also the addition of the DPS passive heavily affecting hit scans. She peaked in strength in Season 11 when Bob received the tank passive.
Yeah.
The big thing about this passive is the 25% headshot reduction. Since Bob stands still, this effectively gives Bob a 25% HP increase. Ashe has been dominant for a while, but did get hit with some nerfs in the recent hotfix patch, so this makes Season 11
Keep my girl
her
hot,
peak
bro.
state.
Keep my girl hot.
Coming into Overwatch 2, Bastion received a massive rework, however was overall pretty weak coming into the game. But once going to Season 9, Bastion received massive buffs, changing almost everything in his kit. His tactical grenade seen a lot of changes, along with his reload time being reduced. His ult targeting speed was also buffed, but the big one was his tank form now repairing 50 armor. This not only buffed his kill power, but his survivability, along with the previous buff that reduced the cooldown from 10 seconds to 12,
Bastion was meta for a while, wasn't he?
These buffs were so massive that Bastion was nerfed in the next 3 patches he appeared in. Currently, Bastion is one of the worst DPS in the game, not necessarily because he is bad, but mainly because of the armor changes nerfing him super hard, as well as D.Va being really good, who is so good into him. Cassidy has maybe received the
To make Bastion better, take out artillery form, bring back Overwatch 1 Bastion ult. Hashtag buff Bastion ultimate.
Most reworks out of any character in Overwatch 2 so far. However, his strongest state was on the 13th of February when global health
Cassidy
pools
is one
were
of the
buffed,
hardest characters to
along
balance.
with the DPS passive.
That's true.
Hit scans across the board gained the most from the DPS passive. However, Cassidy now also had 275 HP, which made him super tanky. People began to slowly realize that Cassidy had pretty much everything. He was a solid hit scan, was good at dueling, could survive a ton of things because of his role, which at the time had a 75% damage reduction, allowing him to survive a rip tire.
Compared to my cat looks exactly like you and he sits on my lap when I play games too.
Oh, that's cute. Salty egg for 12 months. Appreciate it.
the 50% it is today. Fan the Hammer was also super strong. Right-clicking, rolling, then just right-clicking again did absolutely monstrous damage to tanks. It took a bit for people to realize how good he was, but finally, on June 20th, he was hit with another rework, as well as a few nerfs and a Deadeye buff. This version of Cassidy was still super strong, but the Fan the Hammer nerf hit like a hammer. No one... Damn. Now, as an Echo main, I'm happy to say that Echo, in my opinion, has been an S, if not an A tier character for pretty much all of Overwatch's history. However, has been pretty underpicked character and has mostly received buffs, with their last buff being on May 14th, buffing her ult multiplier from 4 to 4.5. Echo has been really solid for months, never really being the #1 DPS in the game, but always at least being second or third. However, this came to an end when she was hit with a massive HP nerf in Season 12, reducing her HP to 225.
Oh,
this
yeah,
well maybe being justified hurt her a lot, and is still pretty solid, but has definitely been taken down a peg after this nerf. I think it's really telling that characters like Ashe and Cassidy have been some of the best characters in the game in the last few months, and she has still been able to keep up with them. Poor Genji has had it rough in Overwatch 2. He was best by far on release. I feel like
Genji's always been good.
Genji benefited a lot from the new DPS passive, which increased reload speed, but more importantly, increased movement speed. This was super strong on Genji, and in combination with Dai being so good, easily made Genji one of, if not the best DPS in the entire game during this period. However, this came to an end on November 17th, when Genji was hit with massive nerfs to his primary fire, reducing the damage per shuriken and the ammo. However, what really was the nail in the coffin was the nerfing of the DPS passive, which removed the movement speed after a kill. This killed Genji and started the nerf.
DPS don't get a reload anymore, right? I remember that. We just do reduced healing to the targets only. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Genji meme, which still exists today. Hanzo, like his brother, hasn't been treated very kindly in Overwatch 2. His strongest state was on the 7th of March, 2023, when his lunge was randomly given a cooldown reduction. but he began picking up popularity and received a few nerfs that really didn't change him at all. However, the one that changed everything was in Season 9 when HP pools were increased, but his damage wasn't, meaning he could no longer one-shot. This killed the character on the spot, and he has been one of the worst DPS in the game ever since. Even with the new recent Season 12 changes allowing him to one-shot a ton of characters, including pretty much every support now, it's never brought him back to his former glory.
I feel like...
Believe it or not, Junkrat has pretty much never been buffed in Overwatch 2, and has only really been nerfed or hurt hard by game changes like Season 9 removing his one-shot combo.
Good!
Junkrat's peak was on release, where going into Overwatch 2, his frag launch and projectile size was increased, along with Steel Trap receiving damage buffs, but then began receiving nerfs just a month later to his Steel Trap, but also would begin later receiving nerfs to his Concussion Mine, hurting his overall DPS. Like Genji and Hanzo, Overwatch has not treated these heroes very well, and while he has received some buffs in recent days, he's currently one of the worst DPS in the game in his current state.
Whoa. We just literally had a Junkrat do Junkrat for us who hit rank 1, bro. Yo. All I'm saying is that if he was the worst, chat, that means...
Strength was in October 10th of 2023, when her Deep Chill passive was removed, and they reverted her previous primary fire changes from the last few months. For the next several months, Mei began to become a pretty dominant pick in rush comps with characters like Ramatra and Ryan. She began receiving nerfs just 3 weeks later, nerfing is slow, though Mei was still a really good pick. However, what really hurt her a lot were the Season 9 HP changes, notably changing a lot of breakpoints, with the biggest one being that she could no longer one-shot Tracer with her right click anymore. While she has mostly been buffed since Season 9,
as a Tracer player,
the new health pool changes affected her a lot and have caused her to receive a lot less playtime than she did before. Pharah is very weird with her history. I feel like Mei is a really good character. As her peak was...
I feel like Mei isn't really used to DPS like a lot of people think. I mean, she could do a lot of damage, yes, and she could slow. But I feel like Mei, most of her, like 70-80% of her kit is basically you walling someone off and then your team collapsing and killing that person. I don't think like her damage and everything is supposed to be that crazy.
When she received a big rework to her kit. However, on launch, people didn't think she was very good. However, in later months, people began to see her strength and realized that she was not just good, but great, and quickly began to take over the game. This is arguably one of the strongest arrows of Pharah of all time, and even after receiving a small nerf on July 9th of 2024 to her concussive blast, she was still super strong until finally an emergency nerf patch came in, which brought her HP down to 225.
I remember this.
During this time, Pharah was very good with characters like Mauga, who could use his cardiac overdrive to give Pharah lifesteal on her ult. Lifeweaver was also good with her, as he could use his pull to also let her survive her ults. She was pretty much just a better version of Junkrat that could fly, take off angles, and easily escape thanks to her new movement. It's very telling that Pharah was super strong with Cassidy being as good as he was during this era, and it really just goes to show how great Pharah was during this. And even after all the nerfs she's gotten, she's still a super solid hero today.
Or I think it was 30 damage. That was dumb.
Reaper's peak is very subjective. As stats-wise, he's actually his strongest right now, and actually is seen as pretty strong because of the recent HP nerfs, making Reaper have 75 more HP than most supports, which is just wild. However, the changes to armor in Season 11 also really hurt him, as it makes him do 50% less damage.
How you gonna play Overwatch during the big fight, bro? That's crazy work. Yeah, big fight. 27-year-old guy beats up a 60-year-old man. Yeah, that's a crazy fight. Really? Wow. Damn, I'm missing a lot, bro. Yeah. Woo! Wow. Bro, everyone knows if Mike Tyson was in his prime and at the same age as that guy, I don't like that. I don't like him or his brother because of what they do. Mike Tyson would literally pick him up, break him in half, and start like eating his insides.
Armor now.
And plus, I'm pretty sure that whole thing is rigged anyways, and the only people who are winning, whether it's Mike Tyson or the other guy, bro, they're both winning because they're laughing to the bank. So, no. I'm okay. I could live my life very happily missing that fight.
For the most part, he has been pretty bad throughout Overwatch 2, with his really only other peak being on release when Winston died was meta, and at the time, Reaper was not only a very good character into Winston, but he also was super good at using the pre-nerf Kitsune Rush, which just let him go fucking ham on the enemy team.
Back then, chat?
Kitsune Rush character into Winston,
look at that.
but he also was super good at using the pre-nerf Kitsune Rush, which
the?
just let him go fucking ham on the enemy team. For the most part, he's really only ever been buffed and is actually quite strong right now, making 2024 his current peak.
I feel like he's really strong. Well,
Since Overwatch added a 2 to the end of their
35
name,
to 30%.
Sojourn has been pretty infamously OP, with her peak being on release where she could one-shot with Railgun. However,
Sojourn
it
and
almost feels weird to say that this is her peak, because even after her Railgun was nerfed, this made it so now Mercy could just pocket her and she could just one-shot everyone. Now, spoiler,
Sojourn on
this
release
isn't the
was so
only
fun.
reason Mercy was super strong at this point, but Sojourn was a massive part. And for most of the game's history, she's either been an S tier or if not a high A tier character.
Sojourn
For the
was really
longest time,
strong.
high
do
elo...
you guys remember when Sojourn E ability, the little thing, also used to have a slow effect? Dude, Sojourn was so good.
Games were pretty much just decided on the server
Sojourn.
admin
I was like
Sojourn
Sojourn
player,
every game, Jack.
just dominating everyone and who could
and
do
I
it
could play
first.
Overwatch all day playing Sojourn.
Only recently has she fallen and is now being pushed in a much better, more fun and healthy version of the character, much more focusing on consistent railguns and less lethal ones. Currently, she's pretty decent, not OP, but really fun to play. Poor Soldier has been pretty bad ever since the new armor changes, making Soldier do almost no damage to armor. Currently, he does 9 damage to armor, which is just laughable.
I feel like Soldier's
Going back
a
in
very
time to
safe
July
pick.
11th though, his damage was increased to 17, along with his Helix rocket being buffed and Healing Field, receiving more healing per second. This on top of the buffs to his primary fire in a previous patch, which reduced the recoil and the number of shots it took to reach that maximum recoil. These changes made Soldier a super solid pick across all ranks. This period came to an end though next month in August, when his Helix rocket would be toned down as long as his ult cost being
That was
increased,
dumb. I don't
making
know why they
Season
did
5 his strongest state in 2024. Moving on to Sombra, she has had 2 periods of dominance,
I feel so
with
bad
one
for
being
Sombra.
on release, and another that actually caused her to get
No.
emergency nerfed in a recent patch of...
If Sombra's Sombra's strongest state is when 40% her EMP used to do 40% of the damage, and then if you get nanoed, it was an extra like it was like 60% of the health or some shit, chat. Something ridiculous. 60% of your health gone and you can't use abilities with 1 EMP. That was the most broken state of Sombra. If he doesn't say that, I don't know.
As of writing this just 2 days ago. However, I think I'm going to go with release Sombra. During this time, Dive with Tracer Sombra was probably the best comp in the entire game. This was before her rework where she had the passive that made her do 40% more damage to hack targets. She was easily able to mow down all squishies and also had EMP, which was arguably the second or third best ult in the entire game. All of this made Sombra a must pick and absolutely insane. This came to an end though in November, when her passive was nerfed by 15%, as well as the ability lockout being reduced,
No one likes Sombra
making
anyways.
this her peak in Overwatch 2.
No one really likes Sombra, it's fine.
Symmetra is an awkward character to balance, as she can be super strong on some maps, and then you get Junkertown and you can never touch her, despite what my Gold 3 DPS players seem to think. Her peak though was definitely during the small week Malga was broken again on March 11th during the Season 9 mid-season patch. Her damage was heavily increased, now maxing out at a wild 195 damage per second.
More damage than Zarya, by
Her
the way.
TP also
Fully
received
charged.
HP changes, but the big one was the turret buff.
Yeah, and can you guys believe that health increase from a sentry turret went from 30 to 50? That should never be a thing. And this is when they also increased melee to do like 30. No, what is it, chat? It used to be 30. Now it's 45. How much is melee now? It's 40, right? Or 45? But like you being able, I think it's 45, right? You being able not to melee a turret when you're that close is just phenomenal I don't understand why they would do that. When already, before the health changes, you could already melee a turret. I don't know.
Now making them do more damage, but more importantly, no longer dying to quick melee. This made her insanely strong, and she was ruling the game along with the other Gigabuff character Malga during this weird period. However, the devs quickly corrected their mistakes by nerfing her along with Malga just a week later, bringing her damage back down, and the turrets now being able to be killed by quick melee.
That should always be a thing. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Torb has been in a weird place in Overwatch's history. He's never really been bad, but also never really been the best character in the game or anything. This is mainly due to his nature of being a heavily defensive character, with niches against characters like Tracer or Dive in general.
Torb's always been
Otherwise,
good.
I would say his peak was
Torb.
probably on release. While most of his stats have been buffed since then, it's been accompanied by several turret nerfs, which is his core strength. This period came to an end on February 7th, 2023, when he received his first of many turret nerfs. Even though his power has been shifted around a little bit, he's mostly stayed again a B to low A tier character, going up and down depending on the current meta. Tracer is
Torb, low-key, really strong in low ranks, chat. If you guys want to rank up, you gotta Torb it out, bro. I'm sorry. Torb is such a strong character that not a lot of people are utilizing in low ranks. He's on defense. Let me say defense, because I usually use Torb a lot on defense, first points.
arguably the highest skilled character in the entire game. It has mostly been nerfed over the years as a result of players getting better. Tracer's peak was on release of Season 9, which is very surprising because me and many others thought Tracer would be much worse as her damage wasn't increased with the HP pools going up. However, the DPS proved it didn't matter. Currently, Tracer is still the best marker of the DPS passive in the entire game. And even with all the nerfs, with the first one coming just a week later after the release of Season 9 on February 21st, she's still the best character in the game and dominates with characters like Ball, Winston, and Sombra.
You need Tracer to be the best character, though, because Tracer is the... okay, I don't know about anymore with characters like Juno and Kiri and all this, but Tracer is the face of Overwatch, chat. Tracer needs to be good. It needs to be good. It needs to. Genji and Tracer are that characters with the highest skill ceiling, and I feel like those are the two characters that are really hard to master, chat. Tracer, because she's like a little feather. If you cough on her, she dies. Nah. And also, just want to let you guys know, if you guys didn't know this, Tracer did get a ass nerf in Overwatch 1. Yep, her butt was too big, so they had to nerf it. Did you guys ever know that? It's crazy.
Still the best marker, this one coming. Still the best Sombra. Venture is a character that is a somewhat recent addition to the game,
I hate Venture,
and has really only ever been nerfed. Their strongest state was during the brief weekend where they are available to play, before nerfs later came into their ults, Primary Fire, Drill Dash, and Clobber. In my opinion, Venture is still a very strong character right now, and I currently believe is one of the best DPS in the entire game and most slept on characters in Overwatch.
Venture is really strong if it's in the right hands.
Honestly, I feel like if they just got a skin, then people would actually play them. To be fair though, I think the main reason is people just can't appreciate the variety of skins that they have. I mean, come on, bro. Just look at this blue. Widow's strongest state was on release of Overwatch 2. When going into the game, her HP was buffed from 175 to 200. This period ended when about 4 months later, after several complaints, her HP was nerfed back down to 175 from 200. Now, what I do want to say is that release was her best, but her peak was definitely in Season 3. This is because at the time, we still had map pools, and during that specific months, several of the maps were sniper maps, making Widow even stronger. This is what caused her to get that HP nerf and remove map pools from the game. Pretty crazy that just one character influenced the game so much that the devs were forced to remove a fundamental part of the game just for one hero.
Map pools are the worst idea of the game. I'm sorry, chat. Map pools are just... I don't like them. I also didn't like how Overwatch... Remember there was a time in Overwatch 1 where I don't know how they did it, but I think it was a cat. They used a cat, but they used to ban like 3 or 4 characters every like week or so. That was the worst thing they ever done to the game as well. They should not do it like that. If they ban characters from a game, they should give you like 30 seconds when the game starts, so you could use those 30 seconds for the players to choose which character to ban, because I feel like that would be better. So each what do you call it? Each map, it's different. So on Ilios, let's say Ilios with like ruins, you ban Widow. So one team can't you can't use Widow. And that map is going to be different than, let's say, King's Row. You're not going to ban the same things you're going to ban on one map than the other. I think that spices up Overwatch a little bit. That spiced up Overwatch a little bit, but not with these set picks that they did. I did not like that.
Ana has been a super strong character throughout all of Overwatch 2, with her peak being on December 15th of 2022, when her biotic rifle would see a damage buff, and her grenade also getting a duration buff. These 2 changes were massive, especially the biotic rifle one, now allowing Ana to 2-shot a Tracer
That was dumb.
and 3-shot a Cassidy.
Supports should never have high damage because you are a healer. You are a healer. Heal your team. I don't understand. I understand that you need to defend yourself, but that's why you have other abilities. And that's why you have teammates in a microphone, so you could be like, hey, team, can you come help me in the back line? And your team helps peel for you. It's crazy. And I'm just going to say it. Hot take. Support players are the most... They're the babies of the Overwatch community. Cry, 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 and they all get their buffs. That's all they do. Wah, buffs. I don't know why the devs love support characters. They're spoiled. Spoiled. All of them. All of them.
This period would end on February 7th of 2023, when the duration of nade would be reduced by half a second. In later months, Ana would begin receiving a ton of nerfs, all of these being very sizable changes, but it really never stopped Ana's dominance throughout the game, even with Kiriko. And even today, Ana is still a super strong character in current day. Bab is a character that has been pretty much broken since the start of Overwatch, which is crazy because he's pretty much been only buffed.
They just buffed his recoil, so your little Bab players, like someone said in chat, they don't hurt their wrist. they were hurting their wrist, chat, so they had to give him a buff. Oh my god, dude. Fucking ridiculous, dude.
Buffed in Overwatch 2, with damage and healing changes coming into the game. However, the devs felt he needed more buffs to his immortality field and buffed it not just once, but twice. Finally, he began receiving nerfs on May 9th of 2023, with the first coming to his regenerative burst, with several more coming in later months. For how strong BAP has been in Overwatch 2, it's crazy that he's really barely been changed. He's either been the best support in the game or number 2, and the only reason his spot in that category changes is because of the characters changing in balance. BAP is nuts, and I'm looking at all these people that told me I was crazy for putting BAP as high as I did in my last ranking. Allari has been a staple in poke comps since her addition in Season 6 of Overwatch 2.
This is my opinion. I don't like characters like Allari. She's fun to play, yes, as a DPS player, but I just don't like her kit, bro. You throw down a pylon and then, I don't know, bro. I feel like this is a DPS player. This character was made for DPS players to try to play support more. That's basically what it is.
With her peak being on release, before she began receiving nerfs on August 24th to her pylon and captive sun, lowering the pylon's HP and healing, as well as the captive sun duration being decreased.
So also, all you guys that are saying, oh my god, support is a support, not a healer, then how are you supporting your team by throwing a goddamn fucking nuke at the other team? How is that supporting your team? That's a DPS ult! That's literally a DPS! Why is this a support? Oh my god, dude. You combo with another ult? How about you combo with... So what's Zarya then? Zarya Grav is really strong, and especially when it combos with another ult. Is Zarya support?
Pre-nerf Allari, while not an easy character to play, was pretty insane considering how even after these nerfs, she was probably the best support in the entire game and has had multiple peaks in dominance since this state, being in a significantly weaker state than she was on release. Juno is the newest character added to the game, and at the time of this being written, is in her strongest state right now. After receiving nerfs coming into the game after the trial weekend, she was buffed in a hotfix patch and then buffed again in another hotfix patch.
Support players cry, they get buff. It's a common trend, chat. Support, wah, support get.
Shortly after, with this patch buffing her fire rate back up with small number nerfs that are still higher than the ones from the trial, which they believe were too strong. Currently, Juno is very strong, and if you want to have some fun with the new character, I would say now is your best bet. She's pretty good right now, especially with D.Va. Kiriko is very hard to rank because she's been so good throughout Overwatch 2.
Another good one. Kiri has never been a bad pick since she was released. She has a broken kit. She used to do 3 times headshots, Suzu, teleport. She literally has it all, chat. All of it. She has it all.
Unlike Sojourn, who is
that's a reason. That's a reason as well. There's a reason why they never touch these characters. Juno will forever be broken, chat. Kiri will forever be broken. That is because, like, Reinhardt is... I hope Reinhardt... I mean, I don't think Reinhardt's been ever been broken, but, you know, the same characters. Mercy. They never want to nerf those characters so they're bad because they want to sell their skins. That's all they want to do. Juno has literally been the latest character that just came out, and Juno has gotten more skins than Venture has gotten, and Venture has been released for like 4 months. Can you believe? That's crazy.
Finally been brought down from S tier. Kiri has pretty much lived there throughout the entire game's life. She's received multiple number changes, all of which never being enough to bring her down. I feel like it's a no-brainer that released Kiriko is the best version of her. To put this into context, this was for all the nerfs that she's received over the years, with the big one being Kitsune Rush, which used to increase movement speed by 50% instead of today's 30%, and the wild one was the cooldown rate, being reduced from 3 times to 2 times.
That's
this is
insane.
even more crazy when you consider that Kitsune Rush is arguably still the best ult in the entire game.
Oh, I just want to say, this reminds me. I do have to give a little bit of love to Kiri, because Kiri, she's my 5th most watched video on YouTube at 1 million views, chat, 2 years ago.
Even with all these nerfs. Not to mention that her old
6?
3x multiplier on her right click.
Oh, 6-1, whatever.
Kiriko has been so good for so long, I feel like it's hard for people to even imagine her ever being bad, especially with Suzu. Lifeweaver is notable for arguably being the worst a character has been on release. He was so bad, in fact, that it took 3 different patches, all of which giga-buffing him to finally make him not an F tier character. 3 patches! And these were not small buffs either. These included primary fire buffs, ult buffs, healing buffs, ammo buffs, life grip buffs, pedal platform buffs. They even gave him shield health. Even though Lifeweaver wasn't the best support in the game after these 3 patches, he was pretty solid and provided a lot of healing value-wise. Even though Lifeweaver wasn't the best support in the game after these 3 patches, he was pretty solid and provided a lot of value healing-wise for how little skill he took. So finally, the devs walked it back on Halloween in 2023, nerfing his healing, ammo, and life grip. Currently, Lifeweaver is terrible, and pretty much always has been the worst support in the game. Mainly due to his design pretty much forcing him to stay bad with the way he is. But hey, at least he's super fun to play, especially if you're cooked off the Za and trying to drop to Diamond 2.
What is he saying? That's funny. Sorry, I have to say this as well, chat, because this pisses me off. This
all
animation.
Of which giga-buffing him.
Stop. Blizzard, I know you're trying to save money, but please give us those, what do you call it? I think, what was the last one, chat? I think Kiri was the last one or something. I want more animated shorts. No, chat, these cinematics I don't like. I want the real ones, bro. The epic cinematics, bro. The cool ones. Oh, dude. Sojourn was the last one? No. Sojourn. Was it Sojourn? I just don't like these ones that they do now, bro. Give us... No, Juno, I did not like Juno's. Juno, I don't know what they did or what kind of company they used, but it was not looking good. Juno's was bad, bro. Back then, I want quality like the Genji Hanzo cinematic. Not these ugly ones. I want my sexy cinematics back. Sexy.
And trying to drop to Diamond 2. Lucio throughout all of Overwatch's history has always been a really strong character and been a staple in several comps in Overwatch 2. He's gone mostly unchanged until Season 9 where global HP pools were changed, notably coming with a big buff to his Boop. Because the tank passive, Boop had pretty much been useless on tanks. However, they finally decided to buff it, though they might have went a little too far, as Lucio, who was already really good, became the best support in the entire game. He was so strong that the tank passive had to be buffed pretty much just because of Boop. This period came to an end on February 21st of 2024, when his projectile size of his primary fire was reduced, making it harder to hit shots. Even though to this day, Lucio was still an S tier character in Overwatch 2, I still have a blast playing him, and personally I find him to be one of the most healthy supports in the entire game. Mercy has had one of the most interesting histories in Overwatch of all time. Going into Overwatch 2, she got some nice changes to her movement, but for the most part remained as an average character. That was until December 6th, when she received a massive buff to her blaster, not only buffing the swap speed, but also giving her 5 extra ammo. Oh, and Sojourn was added to the game. During this time, a Mercy-pocketed Sojourn pretty much ran the lobby.
Yeah, I love
People
those
began to
days.
also realize that with the 5v5 format, she was also good in other areas, but was mainly known for letting Sojourn be able to one-shot.
Yeah, I
Mercy
love those
Sojourn
days.
would be dominant for months until Mercy received a massive nerf to her Guardian Angel, increasing the cooldown but giving her a rework to her staff healing, which buffed her healing overall and made her much tankier thanks to her new sympathetic recovery passive. While this was reverted, the game changes overall ended her strongest period, making December of 2022 her best state. Moira is known as what Clash Royale players would dub it a mid-ladder Metis, mainly used in lower ranks because of her lack of aim and ease of skill. For the most part, she has never seen too much play in higher ranks. Not because
trust
she's
me.
bad,
I've
but
had
mostly
IRP
due
in
to
a
her
lot of
being
my games.
outclassed. In Overwatch 2, she has really only ever been buffed. However, her peak was in Season 9 when global HP pools were changed. Moira's damage and consistency were great in this early meta, and she was quite popular. However though, as time went on, she began to drift back down to silver, but was hit with a pretty hard nerf in Season 12, where her HP was nerfed, with the damage
does
buff
Moira
really
actually
not
run
giving her
low elo
enough,
lobbies, chat?
making this her peak in power. Finally, we have Zen. In the 5v5 format, Zen has been pretty controversial, as Discord Orb is super powerful on one tank. However, his peak in power was in Season 9 when he received 25 extra HP and 25 extra shield as a result of the Season 9 HP pool buffs. This
Oh my
puts
God, that was
Zen
a good
at
play.
275 HP compared to most characters
Yeah,
250.
Zenyatta was
This extra
Zenyatta at
tankiness
275
was
health was
insane
broken.
and made Zen become the best character in the entire game during this time. A comp that has almost never been good but was insane during this time was Zen Lucio Ball. This did not last long though, as he was emergency nerfed just a week later, reducing his HP as well as his kick knockback. Currently, Zen is terrible, I'm gonna be honest, and really needs some help, hopefully in the Season 12 mid-season patch.
I think Zen is okay in some spots.
Damn, that was a long video. Probably my longest to date. This
was a
video
good
took
video, though.
an insane amount of time to make. So if you liked it, please subscribe. And let me know what other videos you want to see. That's all I got,
That was
so
a really
take
well
care,
put together
y'all.
video.
I'll see y'all later.
That was actually a really well put video. Like, I can't imagine going through all the patch notes and getting all that information and whatnot. Yeah, you know what? Have my like. That was good, chat. Okay, friends. YouTube thinks you might like this next video, so let me know if they're right.